Hello, everyone. Corrie here, coming in to record the energy update for this weekend. And of course, probably following in through till maybe next week. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe next week. So this is July the 18th. There's been so much being downloaded. Downloaded so I can upload it. I have been receiving so much information that is really about us. It's about our human existence. It's about who we are in this human world and what it means to truly exist in this human world. And of course, my work is more than existing. So it would make sense because more than existing was something that I channeled 6 years ago, 7 years ago for the program. And the book itself came years before that, when I recognized how far away from myself, or away from home, I call it, that I was so far away that I couldn't recognize myself, that I didn't know who this person was. And how did I get there? How did I get there? How did I get lost? How did I get lost in the world? How did I get lost in my emotions, in everything that was happening? And, one of those things, and I wrote about this yesterday on my Facebook page when I did the energy update, was that I had wrote about that destination happiness. And that's that when I get there, or when I get this body, or when I get to this place, or when I get this job, or when I have this money, and always that sense of seeking that sense of validation through that sense of worth. And so that's really coming up with this energy, and it's really slowing us down to really gain our footing again, to get to a place of where we come into a greater appreciation. Because how do we raise the world? We raise the world by coming into a deeper understanding or deeper relationship with what love really means, but what gratitude really is, and what it means to really truly be grateful. And then today they start to download a whole bunch of information about significance, and how we have been so focused on purpose. And purpose is, what we do in the world, and what we do with this life. Significance is about our value, and about the value that we bring, and really looking at value, and looking at what we value, where we have placed our values, and our core values, our personal values. And so, it's like we get so invested or over invested in being so distracted that we don't realize that we are off the path, that we are no longer connecting to our lives, or to our own sense of, our own sense of purpose in some ways, or our divine purpose. Our unconscious patterns and behaviors, it is not always there for our highest good. It is there for our survival. It is there feeding off our fears. And it is the programming. It is the conditioning. It is the values and beliefs that became your values and beliefs. It is the thing that motivates the projection that we are living, what we get overly invested in. And so we don't even think about it. It's unconscious patterns, right? Unconscious behavior. We just are like robots. We just repeat those patterns, those behaviors over and over. Whereas if we start to change the language and really start to allow the higher consciousness, the higher sense of self, to be the brain, to be the voice, to be the place of where we really discover values. And so one of those coming up is significance. And that, if we weren't so busy on that happiness destination, that destination happiness, then we would be able to start to recognize significance, and how we are all significant. We all play a role, and we all have a role, and we all have this purpose. And it may not appear to be a greater purpose, but one of those, to our everyday living, it feels so mundane, but it's us being able to rediscover what love truly means, and what it means to truly step into the action of love. And the action of love deteriorate the best parts of who we are. So one of the things that really was coming up was with this new taking organic fruit and covering it in a plastic, covering it in something to preserve it. And it's like, is that really because you care for the people? And so there was a sense of these things that lead us down the path of, it's using discernment. Is this really coming from the highest good of people? Is this coming from the highest place? And so asking yourself, is the things that I'm motivated to do in this moment at this time, is it really truly coming from my highest good, or is this just my patterns? Am I repeating patterns, and am I in another repeat pattern? This is where we step into the addictive patterns that we can justify as acceptable. One of the biggest things they are bringing up for me is our ability to be, affiliated with what brings financial value, but doesn't bring significance into the truth of why we're here. And so it's so easy to be overinvested in and see this, this opportunity. So to see this opportunity to take advantage of, how did I put it? To kind of take advantage of the destination happiness that people have, of this lack of value that people see in themselves. And so there's a lot of opportunists. Let me kind of get to the gist of this, I guess, because this is what they just give me. Corrie, there's just a lot of opportunists out there right now. And so there's a lot of opportunists, and you're going to see the rise of this opportunist, and why we have to begin the journey of the return to love, and to be able to see the significance of your being and why your human is here, is so that you are not caught in the trap of the opportunist energy. Pay attention. It is larger than life. It is imitation, passing as light. It is what is not good for you, being passed off, being sold as great for you. It's showing up with many faces, in many places, in many ways. And it's going to only get worse before it gets better. The other one that keeps coming up, or what they keep bringing up for me in the significance, in that sense of value, is that we have been taught to chase the sense of value or significance in the world by popularity, and by being popular. And we're not here to be popular. We're not here to be liked or loved by every single person in the world, right? That is not the truth. You are here to really feel proud of yourself, to feel accomplished within yourself, knowing that you are doing the right things for the right reasons. But it's kind of where we're kind of going back. And I've said this in one of my energy updates. I don't know, it was the year, it was a couple months ago. And I had spoken and said, we're at this point of where we're bringing the 80s back. And the 80s is where kind of the free range little chickens began. It's where the free range children, it is where we didn't care. We were more unisex in our style. Rock stars were in their makeup, their long hair. They wore girls' clothes. Girls wore boys' clothes. Like, it was just more unisex. It was more blended. And it was a sense of, we stopped paying attention. We stopped paying attention to everything else that was distracting us. And we started to pay attention to life. But it was also where the maturing adults, the parents, began to think, well, I want my life. So it was a fight for freedom. It was a fight in a different way for freedom. It's like, I can have my family, but I'm still going to party. I'll drag my kids to all the parties and but it was the beginning of, and I'm not going to say a neglect, but it was where children began the journey to become, almost given the freedom to kind of self-discover, to become self-aware. And so there was a sense of, fend for yourself, mama's gone to work, right? Like that sense of, but it brought about, it's got its good, bad, and ugly, everything does, but it brought about a big self-awareness. So self-awareness is really what's coming back into the forefront again, and being very self-aware to your thoughts, and aware to what's stealing your attention, what we are getting over invested in, but also that sense of thinking they're pulling the wool over our eyes, like just really, really, I mean, I'm born awake. I've been awake since I was born. It has been a frustrating life and a frustrating world, but being human has not been easy. Just going to say, it's been like watching the human existence has been like a bleh. And watching how we can self-destruct, and how there's been so much self-destructive, or so much destructive propaganda and things sold to us that appears to be really good for us. And if you remember, when microwaves came in, you remember when VHSs came in. So we began to corrupt the slowing down. We began to corrupt the family time. It began to corrupt the creativity, artistic abilities to really come from the higher self. And instead, it began to come from elsewhere, right? It was the elsewhere. So there's a lot of things that are kind of in this cycle that are returned again, that are back here again. Now, in my last couple of videos, I've been talking about like floods, tsunami type weather, earthquakes, volcanoes. I'm like, we're seeing it all. And we have seen those eruptions. We have seen those floods. And I said there would be another flood besides the one that we had seen in Texas. And then, of course, New York had a flood. There's just been like a floodgate of water coming in. And there's going to be and so with all of this disruption is also the element. So we have the element of water that we're kind of floating around in for the past few years. But now it's like what they're showing me, what I'm being given, it's like, okay, there's this disruption in the element of water, because water is kind of being put on the back burner. And water is trying to say to us, I'm not going on the back burner. So emotions, it's like putting our emotions on the back burner, and kind of just forget you have emotions, forget that the world matters, forget that things matter, forget that people matter. And, and just go about your business, just go about your life. And let's just kind of be cold. Let's just let things freeze over. And so but the fire saying, like, when hell freezes over, will I stop caring? And so on a bigger scale, we're moving into the time of where we're being told that it's like, when hell freezes over, we're going to stop caring. We are not going to stop caring. But what we care about is what's beginning to change. What we invest in is beginning to change. What we get over invested in is about to make a pivotal shift and change. And you're really starting to see that unfold. You're starting to see that everywhere. When we move into this shift of energy, or as we're moving into this shift, it's coming with a lot of solar storms, a lot of solar flares. It's coming with a lot that is happening. And I just keep seeing like some big, it looks like an asteroid to me, but it's, it could be a shooting freaking star. I don't know. But I see like this big ball of fire coming across the sky. And I'm like, don't know what the big ball of fire is, but I just keep thinking of when something just comes in that ignites the fire. And there's something in the energy that is saying that it is significant, and what lights the fire to remember the value that we have by simply being everyday people. And that we don't have to become something special, something that stands out, something that becomes, you know, superficial, to really truly be as somebody in this world. That our highest expression with love and joy is authenticity. And so this is kind of this explosion of light, of where something is igniting within us that is bringing about a kind of a stronger sense of what it is that we're truly passionate about. And for me, it's about people really remembering that there's that they bring significance to a space or to a room. So what I was writing this morning is like, I got these two little cats, these two little kittens. Like, they have no freaking purpose for me. They, I guess, maybe to catch, when they grow up, maybe to catch some mice, if there's mice, I don't know. But right now they have no purpose. They've taken the old, we have a house where we have to renovate over time, but they found corners of wallpaper and they've tore that down. They've eaten my plants. They're mess monsters. They're absolute freaking mess monsters. They have no purpose, but yet something told me to get these kittens. But then when I look at them, I'm like, they bring value. They bring value. They bring value to the house. They bring value to the home. So the same thing back to the 80s, back to before, back to being a little child, is the sense that, you know, it wasn't that you had you weren't there to have some purpose in your family, in your parents' life. You weren't there to be a purpose for them. You weren't there to be the maid. You weren't there to be the babysitter. You weren't there to appease their emotions. You weren't there to make your parents happy. You weren't there for those reasons. What you were was, you were significant. You brought value to their lives. And if parents couldn't see that, they couldn't see the value that you brought, then they weren't able to see the significance of themselves and the value that they brought in. And so this is where we have a pivotal shift. And so seeing these little kittens and looking at them this morning, and they're hanging off their cat house, and they're see my curtains moving, and I'm just like, and I'm trying, and I'm in my meditation, and my eye kind of opens, and I'm just like, oh my God, you really do distract me, but you distract me from myself in some ways. But you kind of have, you bring value to my life. You fill up our home. And our home, Phoebe, the other cat, don't feel the same way, but there's significance, right? There might not be a big purpose, a big call for why these cats are here, but the significance, the value that they bring. And so this week, I really want you to look at your life and look at life and look at every little thing about in the perspective of value. I want you to be able to see the opportunist that awakens within ourselves in your own archetype, and how you see, you know, you become the opportunist so quickly by having to take everything and turn it into something more. And that's not the alchemist. The opportunist and the alchemist, you know, they can walk parallel, but there's a big difference. The opportunist is seeking something more, and the alchemist is seeing possible potential, right? So there is this opportunity in this energy for you to really truly see how we all have an opportunist within us, for you to be able to see the significance of yourself in life, in the lives of other people, the significance that you were supposed to bring, what you should have been reminded of maybe as a child, but there was great significance. I got to go back into my downloads for a second here. Let me get back in here. So, oh yes. So it's so, you know, they spoke about confusion and how we have so much confusion. And so it's like that thought, you might be thinking like, if I'm not doing something great, I'm not valuable. And so that is what we call a significance wound. And so moving into where we're moving into and what they're trying to guide us through is to really look at our significance wounds and what those significance wounds are. And so what they do is they show up in our lives as a distorted sense of purpose. So we have much distortion and much static in this energy that is trying to slow down the reel. It's like the movie of life, and it's slowing down the reel so that we can gain clarity, so that we can see the past, we can see our place in the past through different lenses, so that we can see our light and we can see with clarity that, you know, we didn't have to do nothing great. We didn't have to become some great entertainer. You didn't have to become the good girl, the good girl, the good boy, the bad girl. You didn't have to become the entertainer. You didn't have to become the smart one. You didn't have to become the titles in order to be significant. Or, you know, or that sense of you might feel empty despite having achieved your goals. No matter what you've achieved, you just never feel as if you're still empty. I know this because I've walked this journey. I've walked it with destination happiness, or else I wouldn't have it in more than existing in my work, in my downloads. I've walked through this journey that I was talking about, being so far away from myself that I was so lost in trying to fill up and being the workaholic and trying to find value through my work only. I didn't see that I had significance in this world. And the only way I seen I had significance in this world was that the more I gave, and if I kept giving more and I kept pleasing more and I kept entertaining people with what I do and with my work, then I would be significant. And it's like, I didn't have to do anything great. My presence in the company of people that mattered was enough. Your presence wherever you are is the greatest gift that you can give to anyone, that you can give to anything that you do. And if you're there for the right reasons, then that is you giving back, that's providing back. And so, you know, that sense of, you know, that deep feeling empty, and even though you've accomplished so much and you still can't see that you were ever successful, you could have a wall full of degrees and still chasing more degrees because you just can't find that sense of you're still empty, you're still looking to fill up on something, and that's that unconsciousness. And so that's what they called to me is, you know, lost significance. You've fulfilled purpose, but not felt deeply valued or seen. And every one of us are here to be seen. But first and foremost, the person who needs to see you is you. You have to see the person standing in front of you today. You have to see the one that's here today. And I'm like, and we have a lot of Leo energy going on, right? We're preparing to leave Cancer. We're moving into energy. Cancer is the nurturer. It's the mother energy in its moon. It's in its moon element. That's his natural place with emotions. You're moving into Leo. Leo is about that sense of being a somebody. It's about the show. It's about the character. It is about the identity. There's a lot of family dynamic, but it's about being able to be a somebody in this world. And so this is all beginning to move us in this direction. And of course, that sense of that no matter how much you've fulfilled, like your life purpose or your destiny, but not felt deeply valued or seen. Now, there's times, I want to come back here, because there is times when you're not really valued. When people underrate you, people misunderstand who you are and what you do, you're not going to be valued by everyone, but you have to value you. That's the value, right? So when you can see that value that you bring to the table, when you look back and you go, so for example, I had to heal through a lot of, no matter what I published, no matter what book I did, no matter how you can see by how many videos are out here in comparison to how many followers I have, that maybe I should have stopped making videos like a long time ago because was it really bringing value to my life? And was it really, but there was purpose to here. but I was doing it for the right reason. And that's the difference. The sharing of the videos wasn't because of to get views. It was because there's a deeper call to share these messages. And so I just share, and if they find them 100 years down the road, then they found them in the right time. Who knows? They'll be there. And so, but that sense of being, where was I going with this? Oh, so back to the books. And so when I published my books, I would quickly move on to the next book and just go, oh, well, that's done now. That's over. Just keep going. Just move on. Just get to the next project. What's next? What's next? And it was a sense that what I had to recognize was that I have fulfilled my purpose. And when I had my outer body experience and died on the table and was dying during my back surgery, was during that experience, what was shown to me, what God showed to me, was that I have fulfilled my destiny here on earth. It's done. My destiny, my purpose is done. I have served my purpose. And it's taken me a big loop around to get to right here, that I have served my purpose. Okay, I've served my purpose. What's next? What do you do when you've now discovered that you have served your purpose? That I don't have to find a new purpose in life. I don't have to go seek more purposes. And what kept coming up was this inner bitterness, this resentment energy that I carried, that I was still very discounted in a lot of ways. And that comes all the way back to my Paint Me Beautiful series that I had started. And I'm sharing this story because they're asking me to share this. And I'm really trying to pull back on this because I don't want to have to share again. But what they're telling me was that why I came back and why I'm here, because I had the choice. I could go or stay on earth. And why I came back was to be alive, to learn what it meant to be alive in my own life, to live in my own life. And it took me a while to really understand this. And that was for me to see my significance in this world, to see my significance, not for me to find more purpose, but for me to see my significance, to see the value that I bring, that I am valuable, that I am valued, that I am seen, and for me to see myself and to see myself in my life, but for me to also recognize that most times all anyone who loved me or wanted to be in my company ever wanted was for my presence to be there, for my presence, for me to fully be me and be my authentic self and not be distracted, not to be caught in sadness and depression or to be caught up in the world stuff, but my presence. They didn't need anything from me. And that the most part, the people care about you don't need anything from you. They so love you enough that they don't need anything, and anything that you exchange in exchange in energy, exchange in gifts, it's a balance between giving and receiving. It's about the care that is giving, it's about the nurturing. And it was that really reprogramming of the unconsciousness, bringing everything that was in the unconscious into the conscious. And that's what more than existing is. We dig up the foundation, we dig up the unconscious, and we open up the box of the unconscious behaviors, patterns, and thoughts, and we reevaluate everything that is in there. And that gets so misconstrued because we live in so many stories and we play out the characters. And when we lie to others, we lie to ourselves. And that was a big narrative and a big story, that when we lie to others, we lie to ourselves. And a few years ago, I experienced really, and I have a naivety. I have a real naivety. I kind of accept things at face value. Well, and I tell you why, it's because when people tell me something, that's their truth. So unless I'm in mediumship and I'm channeled in and I'm talking to their spirit and there's that conflicting, if that's somebody's story, then that's somebody's story. And a few years ago, somebody fed me a really big lie. And it was a very costly lie. And the lie never stopped. it continued. And even after they were long kind of moved on to share their lives with other people in another way, but now great significance, great value, beautiful person. But these are little things that we don't think matter and don't think impact our lives or impact other people's lives. But long after they're moved on, and just dropping in and out of my life, was they kept dropping the lies. And so they kept bringing in these lies they were telling themselves and then telling them to me. And these were stories. And in the end, it was a big cost. And all was the lie was really about was all they ever wanted to be was to be seen. They wanted to be seen as themselves. They wanted to be seen as the person they really, truly were. They wanted to have significance. They wanted to matter. And this person mattered deeply to me, as everyone who enters my world does. They matter to me. And because people matter to me, is the action of love is to truly share, experience. I can't do the work for you, only you can. But this was my experience. This is what I experienced. This is what I learned. This is what I discovered. I can't tell you what to do with your life, but I can tell you that this is the cost of this, or this is what happens. And I found myself really, truly in that moment, in that experience, really awakening to how powerful our little lies, little white lies are. And and those little white lies are the ones that we're telling ourselves. And those little white lies are the things that we make acceptable that are not seeing ourselves, seeing our presence as enough, and always trying to fill up, always looking for that destination of happiness, that happy destination happiness, always searching for some purpose, right? Some real purpose for being here, And that's, you just want people to just say, it's just because you're just simply here. You can be a little off the wall. You can be a little crazy. You can be a little of those things, but we accept you. We love you. And so learning to say that to yourself, I see you. I love you. I accept you. I accept you. And that was the biggest turnaround in my journey, was for me to accept me, to accept that I've walked my purpose, that I've done all of my purpose, that I accept me. I accept me. I don't know what else is to come. I have no idea. I found myself wanting to back out of a big project a big thing that I was about to do, which I believe now I got my message recording this. And so significance is here today, and why it's coming through as the energy update is to remind you that you already matter, without even needing to prove yourself. So the minute we stop trying to prove ourselves is the minute we stop being a puppet on the string. It's the minute that we stop being the circus act, the bear on the bicycle. We stop trying to be the live entertainment. We stop using the best of ourselves to be what brings in the sense of abundance in our lives, without creating balance in it. And so recognizing now in this energy that we all matter, right? That we all matter. And so what they're asking of you, what they're asking is, where in my life am I choosing? Where in my life am I chasing purpose to feel significant? And where can I simply allow myself to be significant by being authentically me? Where in my life can I simply, or where can I simply allow myself to be significant by being authentically me? And so we're being very invited over this weekend to really step into this pause, and to really pause this drive that we have, and really sink in, really sink into that deep dive into the heart, and really look at the emotions of resentment, bitterness, anger. We have a lot that we can be angry about right now. Number one for me is going to be the top of my list forever, is the ignorance and the ignoring of trafficking children, of trafficking, period, of enslaving anyone in any way, because these children, these are human beings, and we all have freaking value. And they're not here to be used and abused as if they don't matter. The big ass ego, the corruption, the evil, the darkness that is in the minds of people who have the ability to hurt and harm a child or a young teenager, whatever it may be, is sickness beyond sickness. It is not just a mental sickness, it goes deeper. It is something that is so beyond. And this is where, this significance really, truly matters. If we can really see the value of what we are gifted with when we are being given into our hands a newborn child, and what a newborn child means, what that future little human means in this world, and how valuable that is that sometimes people don't want to recognize that their purpose, they hate the fact that, oh, that's all, my purpose is just to be a mom, my purpose is just to be a good dad, really? Oh, I got to go chase something bigger. Yeah, no, that is your purpose, right? It's a role we play, but it also is a purpose. And what the purpose is to be able to cultivate and step into the actions of love, and what true, honest, authentic love really means. My computer's going to die on me. And so it's like, plug me in soon. And so we're kind of being told that through all of this, that is kind of driving in, that's bringing in the light, so that we can bring in a light and shine a light upon how we can change within ourselves, and the change we can make within ourselves that then brings about the change in the world, so that we're not accepting little lies. We're not turning a blind eye. We're not pushing life underneath the rug. Is that we see the power that exists by just the entrance of you into this world, and what that brings. Now, what else we got to happen on the weekend? Expect a light show. I don't know why there's a big light show of some sort happening, whether it's going to be we call it Northern Lights here in Alberta, but whether it's going to be the dancing of the lights in the sky, solar flares, whether there's going to be this big ball of lights coming, and we could be having like a lot of like solar flares that are just happening, but a lot of solar flares happening. But also there is some eruptions that are happening, and there's some real truth coming out. And it's like the cockroaches. It's like we're digging up the dirt, we're digging up the foundation, and all the cockroach energy is coming out. And it's coming out so that it can be eradicated, so it can be healed, so it can be resolved within. And so that's what I have for you. I could go on forever today. I have so much that I would love to share with you. And so as a seer, as someone who can see I can see you, right? I see the truth. I see who we truly are. Is that I want to remind you is presence is power. And that's, I'm not the only person to say that. It's that the way that you move in this world, the place, there's a space that you take up, and the space that you take up without being this sneaky opportunist, or without kind of like creeping around thinking, oh, well, I don't want to disturb anyone, I don't want to disrupt anything. Take up space. You are here to take up space. Why? Because there's a place for you in this world. There's a place for everyone in this world. And we all freaking belong here. We all belong here. And so, am I living my purpose or trying to prove it? Right? Am I still trying to prove it? Am I, what makes me feel significant when no one is watching? Because the key, I wrote this in one of my books a few years ago, is, who you are when nobody is looking is what matters the most. Who you are. And I've been saying this for years. who you are when nobody is looking is what matters the most. So it's like, you might not think anyone is seeing how you're treating yourself or who you are when no one's looking, how you're treating others, but it is exposed through your patterns. It is exposed through your energy. It is exposed. It's exposed in your behavior, in your emotions. It is seen, but sometimes we believe it is still being hidden. It's seen in our addictive patterns and behaviors. It is seen. So if you really want to be seen, begin by seeing the value of you. See your significance in this world. Much love. I will chat with you soon. Bye-bye.